Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ. We are the only Canadian gaming podcast that you can catch live on Twitch every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, as well as on podcast services and YouTube every Thursday. My name is Alexander Kazina, and I am joined today by the head of HR, Nathan McInerney.
Yo, maybe actually a head of HR one day. We'll see.
Ooh.
His head is in the clouds, AJ Fraser.
Nathan, I gotta ask, how's your face?
Oh, it's better. My face is better.
Okay, good. That's like a horrible freak accident. You can tell us about it later.
We'll address the story in a bit. Yeah.
And finally, we are joined once again by a very special guest. You may know him from Cutscenes, a video game podcast, and the Left Behind Game Club podcast. He's a mainstay within the Kind of Funny community in Canada and prone to spending too much time driving down Highway 401. I'm, of course, referring to the one and only Jacob McCourt.
That's a great introduction. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Y'all have been doing this show for over 2 years now. And I'm so happy. Just about 2 years. 104 is 2 years, right?
Technically, but there were a couple of weeks we did take off for, personal reasons and stuff. But yes,
we're pretty close.
We are over 2 years in time, but just under 2 years in podcasts.
Well, listen, Congratulations on that. Anyone who does a project for more than a year gets props from me. But I'm so happy to be here today, especially with the topic that we'll get into later.
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Before we get started in full, a reminder as always that we here at Press YYZ stand against discrimination of any kind. While we appreciate however you choose to give back to our show, there's no better way to support us than by being excellent to each other. A little bit of housekeeping that we want to get out of the way. On last week's podcast, we said that the campaign for Crossfire X was going to be our YYZ reviewy game. To catch you up to speed, Jacob, we've started a new initiative in 2022 where every 2 weeks we'll announce, hey, we're all playing this game together. Typically, it's a game that's available via Xbox Game Pass.
Usually a Game Pass game, just because it's so simple.
Nice.
Just so that we can all have something that we can kind of collectively talk about. We said last week it would be Crossfire X, and then a multitude of different things happened. Crossfire X came out and people really didn't like it. Then over the weekend, I actually listened to one of Kind of Funny's podcasts where they talked about Crossfire X, and one of the hosts mentioned, the multiplayer is really, really bad, but the single player campaign itself is actually not that bad. And I thought, maybe we were kind of mistaken from some of those tweets. Maybe this game is, or at least part of this game is actually worth playing. Went and downloaded it. Turns out its single player campaign is actually paywalled, even on Xbox Game Pass. And not only is it paywalled, but it's actually split into two parts that are both individually paywalled, that are each $10. So it ultimately comes out to $20. I suspect, given that the campaign for this game was co-developed by Remedy, that it's probably not that bad. I trust people that it's not that bad, but regardless, the point is we're not doing Crossfire X anymore. Instead, next week, we will be reviewing Telling Lies, which is not a new game, but it is a game that was recently made available on Xbox Game Pass, and luckily, thankfully, is very well regarded. Item number 2, Nathan, you hopefully, at long last, are going to be streaming a little bit of Lego Dimensions tomorrow, correct?
Whoa.
Maybe. Maybe. I'm going to put this out there right now. I hope so. I'm working on a very big project for work, and I have been all week, and I need to have it finished Friday. So we'll see where I'm at going into. I didn't know I was going to have some stuff dumped on me because the person who was doing it has left. And I am picking up the slack of where it was left off to finish it. On the bonus, if I do it well, I might get their job. So we'll see. But I will make an announcement. Yeah, maybe. I don't want to put that out there. But we'll see. So tentatively, I don't have the Google camera set up I wanted to get done, unfortunately. So if I do stream Lego Dimensions, I won't have the cool camera this week for building the Lego in the portal. So,
all right. Well, we'll see. Much to be determined. But something that is not to be determined, because we already know it to be true, is that we've all been up to various things over the course of the past week. Jacob, you're a guest, and I'd like to start with you. What have you been up to?
Yeah, so I've been playing 2 games in the past week. I want to focus on talking about Death's Door, which is a game that I just started playing about a week ago, and I'm really enjoying it.
I think Mitch said that he had also played it and really enjoyed it or something.
Right.
On a previous podcast.
This was a game that originally he didn't put on his top 5 games of 2021, and then at the last second he changed it so it was on his top 5.
Right.
Games.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Zelda game, like a not a 3D Zelda game, but it's like Zelda game with a crow, and then it's kind of modeled after Dark Souls, but like not as difficult. The music is very anime-like. It's relatively short. It's like I think it's like an 8 to 10 hour game. I think I'm about halfway through it. The monster design, or like the boss design, and the boss encounters are definitely the highlight of the game. A couple different weapons, a couple different spells that you can pick up. I think it's actually on Game Pass now. I purchased it over the holidays and then said to myself, like, first of the year, I'll play it. And then it ends up on Game Pass. I have such bad luck when I buy games on Xbox. They always end up on Game Pass literally the month after I buy them.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing is, thanks to Game Pass, we shouldn't buy games anymore.
It's almost like Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. Wink.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I see what you did.
Yeah. So none of y'all have played Death's Door. Does it interest any of y'all?
I suspect I'll play it at some point.
Yeah, I do want to get to it. I do enjoy Zelda games, so this seems like it would be up my alley. So it's just a matter of getting to it.
Yeah, less puzzle solving than an average Zelda game, but definitely like the combat is exactly that. I thought a lot of the Switch one that was remade,
The Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening, it reminded me a lot of how that looked, and I hadn't played it, but from what it looked like, I'm like, this.
The art style in this is very appealing, just from the video that we're watching here. But yeah.
What's the
Link's
game
Awakening.
that's coming out soon? That's the Fox Zelda game.
Tunic.
Yes.
Right.
They gave me Tunic vibes as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried the demo for Tunic. I did not enjoy Tunic, actually.
So,
Same.
no.
Yeah, it was almost too hard. It was like Dark Souls Zelda, which wasn't my jam.
And I don't know if we got the best section of the game when we got the demo. So I'm obviously excited about it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on Game Pass. It seems like the perfect game for Game Pass, but we'll see when that comes out this year. But yes, Death's Door is fantastic. A lot of fun.
Cozy, I have to interrupt and just say that your setup may have screwed up there. I think your your secondary person, yeah.
Whoopsies. Yep. Give me just a quick little second. Oh,
yeah.
That's odd. Let's see. Oh. There we go.
There we go.
Hooray!
Right.
Hey.
If you're an audio-only listener, just forget the past few seconds happened.
Darth Stridius in the chat says they is amazing. They loved it. So I agree. It's a great game.
Yeah.
Kyle's got good taste in games, typically.
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 We play Wordle every day, so.
Yeah, it's true. We do play Wordle every day.
Yeah, on our Discord we have a thread under the gaming that is just me, Nathan, and Kyle posting our daily Wordles, and Kyle goes the next step and does Gary Whitta's Loodle as well every day.
I got off Loodle.
I see what you did there.
Oh, I didn't even intend to do that. Oh,
good job.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, gross.
I mean, what Loodle is making us discover is that, sexual paraphernalia and terms are all around us and in ways that we couldn't even imagine them existing.
My problem was I was too good at it.
Yeah, you never know what might look a little phallic that's within arm's reach, so got a wrench.
I understand, Jacob, that you've also been playing a little bit of Pokemon Legends Arceus.
I have been, yes. I finished the... How spoilery do we want to get here? I think I'm at a point in the game where I am good. I am done with it. I played it.
I want to just say, with regards to spoilers, I've been trying really hard not to spoil myself on some of the later stuff in this game, because I'm about, maybe I want to say 40 to 50% through it, but it's been real tough, especially today, because the Pokemon Company put out a bunch of like high-end renders of a lot of the new Pokemon and characters from this game. And it's like, oh, crap, I meant to not spoil myself to that Pokemon, but there he is in his full HD glory. So if you accidentally spoil a little piece of the game here and there, we're not going to hold it against you.
Okay. I think just saying, like, I'm at a point where I'm good, like, I saw credits and then things. Very quick thoughts on it. It looks like dog water, especially on a TV. I think it's the first game where I said, like, hey, we probably need new Switch hardware because this game doesn't look great.
Okay. First of all, do we? Because it launched with Breath of the Wild.
It did, you're right.
Why didn't they just use that engine?
It's a great question.
Well,
it's not only that, but like great. The world also is just like copy paste. Like, it's the same trees and ground just copy pasted over a large field. But you're totally right. Like, Breath of the Wild looks 5 times better than this game and is densely populated. So it's probably a resource thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder if it was an internal demo at Nintendo and then they were like,
make it a game.
You have 9 months. Go. Yeah. In our Mario voice. But no, I don't think it looks great. I think there's novel, cool stuff in it. I think the catching mechanics really interesting, but the battling takes a backseat in a way that I don't like the battle system at all. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but the Pokemon that were like, let's say 5 levels higher than you, or even like 5 levels lower than you, it almost seemed like it didn't matter. Like, wild Pokemon were a threat through the whole game.
Yeah, and like sometimes it could go either way, where like you're either getting one-shotted or you are doing the one-shotting, right? And I didn't personally, the bit that I played, I have done 3 of the 5 things you do. So, you know, I just entered some sort of cave to give you perspective as to where I am.
Yep.
And it doesn't feel all that balanced, and like I mentioned it briefly, I won't go too much into it, but on the previous podcast, I feel like I mentioned that I felt like there's something missing in Pokemon, and a lot of it has to do with Pokemon Go and how the act of catching multiples of the same one kind of dilutes the attachment that you get to your party, right? Like, I have fond memories of like original like Gold and Silver running around with my Feraligatr, and I remember when I first got an Ampharos after evolving my Mareep. I remember like even the Red Gyarados like was always special, like even though you could technically find another one if you got lucky. But you know, I have very fond specific memories where there was a bond between me and my team, and I feel like that's gone because they all feel so disposable now. Like, oh, I don't need this one anymore. It's not 100%. You know, toss, get rid of it, give me the candy. Or, you know, hey, this one's not shiny. I don't need it. Whatever. And it's like it kind of something is missing. Something has been lost because of that streamlined of catching multiple and gaining experience from that.
No, for sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please, no, you go ahead.
All right. You know, we talked about this on the podcast in the past. Like, in the lead up to this game's release, a lot of people speculated, you know, is this the Breath of the Wildification of Pokemon? Is it Pokemon by way of Monster Hunter. Really what this game is it's not mainline Pokemon by Breath of the Wild, it's Pokemon Go by Breath of the Wild. So much of the emphasis in this game is catching Pokemon over battling them or any of the other things that you typically associate.
It was like Pokemon Let's Go as well, right?
Yeah. And the thing is I'm actually somebody that really enjoys Pokemon Go. I still continue to consistently play it, not necessarily every day, but definitely quite a few times a week. But like when I sit down and come home from playing Pokemon Go, I'm not interested in playing more Pokemon Go on my TV or on my Switch. I want something that has a little bit more substance to it. That being said, I have personally continued to enjoy playing this game. I haven't played it in the past couple of days, but I still am getting a kick out of it. But I do generally echo most of what the two of you are saying.
Yeah, I'm done with it. I'm very excited for Horizon. It comes out this Friday. So I'm hoping to wrap up Death's Door and then give me some Horizon.
Sure. Nathan.
Yo.
I see you sitting there sadly in the corner because we have to talk about Pokemon yet again on this podcast.
We talk about a lot of Pokemon. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
you should play it.
What have you been up to?
I did play it. Well, I missed the podcast last week. So number one, I want to apologize for missing podcast 100.
Oh,
unfortunately, last week I had an accident at the gym and
you peed yourself.
No, I wish. The exercise was to take a medicine ball, raise it high in the air, and then slam it on the ground and then pick it up and then repeat that. So I did what I was supposed to do at the hotel gym, but they didn't have a ball. They told me to use a 15-pound ball. All they had was an 8-pound. I'm like, yeah, this will work. So I slammed it down on the ground. It immediately rebounded against the ground and rammed right up into my face.
Oof.
It drove my teeth into the back of my lip, and I was actually bleeding in my mouth for a good little while.
You got cankers now?
No.
Well, you're lucky.
And I was a little bit dizzy. I might have, I don't know. I don't know if I had a concussion or not, but like I've never really been punched before. But I feel like that's what being punched is like. Because when the ball hit me, I almost fell to the ground. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I was a little bit out of it and basically couldn't talk well for a few days. So I'm sorry for missing episode 100. I really do apologize. That sucked. It was terrible thing.
That's what you get. Like the universe knew you were going to miss it anyway for some other reason, and it threw that medicine ball in your face and was like, and punished you before it even happened. It's like, what's that Tom Cruise movie where, was it Tom Cruise?
I forget. Live, Die, Repeat.
Where, like, no, there was a movie.
You're about to say Hitch. Like he dances and then gets an allergic reaction. I don't know. My brain went Hitch.
Not quite. No, there was a Tom Cruise movie where I like they had a device where they could look forward in time and predict people most likely to
I know which one you're talking about. The
Vanilla Sky or
no.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. That's it.
Is that Minority Report?
Yeah, that's Minority Report. Yeah, I saw that in theaters.
Wow,
I'm that old.
I mean, I could have seen that in theaters. That was
that's
like
true.
2003, right? I could have done that.
Yep. So anyways, so that's why I missed last week. A few quick notes on things before I start talking about Forza. Number one, just a little quick wrestling. I can't
like
believe
how
that
the way that you presented that was like, of course Nathan's going to come on Press YYZ, and of course he's going to talk about Forza. Like, is there any question what he's going to talk about when we get to
Cody Rhodes? Let's do it.
So Cody Rhodes left AEW.
Allegedly.
I can't believe that. It's not a work. It can't be a work. If it's a work, it's the most disgusting work ever because Brandy brought up charity stuff.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, in her email or her letter that she wrote, she thanked all the charities and everything that she worked with. While she was there. It's not a work. He's going to be in the WWE at Elimination Chamber. He's going to be in the crowd or something.
Wow.
They're going to get him in a match at Mania, which is, if you told me that like 2 months ago, I would not have believed you. Even the news when it popped the other day, I would not have believed. But
money talks, I guess.
Yep, it does. So secondarily, so we talked about that. Peacemaker finale tomorrow. We are going to be talking about Peacemaker next week. It's probably going to be my favorite show of the year. I can't see a show beating it. So if you haven't watched Peacemaker, catch up on it because it's fucking good.
Great.
And finally, let's talk about Forza Horizon 4.
Ooh.
4. That's the old one.
Yeah, well, I did everything in Forza Horizon 5. I have 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements and have in like the top 5,000 in the world.
Whoa.
So,
Jacob, just for context, Nathan has always been a PlayStation guy.
Yep.
He somehow, through, I don't know, some sort of peer pressure, was allowed to budget into his monthly budget like an Xbox 1 month, and he got one, and now it seems like he's an Xbox guy.
Woohoo! Welcome to the club.
I still want to say PlayStation is probably my main platform because I do enjoy that DualShock 5. Mm-hmm. It feels very nice. And things like the one thing I always when I play Forza Horizon is I think how much better the adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5 controller would be with it. Like just for that experience. Racing games are really, really good with that. But yeah, so I've been playing Forza Horizon 4. I just want to update you guys on the Fortune Island DLC because I believe we talked about the Lego Valley DLC, correct?
Yes.
The Lego Speed Racers.
Yeah, I remember the Lego stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I've done that. That's all 100%ed. I've mostly 100%ed the Fortune Island stuff. I have to go back and do a few races, but it's really cool. The whole premise is that you're on this island and there's a contest, and basically how it works is you do a few races, and once you get enough points, it unlocks a clue. And then it's like, it gives you this riddle, and then you have to solve the riddle. And usually it's like taking a specific car through like a specific PR stunt based on what they're called. And then once you do that and solve the riddle, it gives you a picture of where the chest is on the map and kind of like a general location. And then you got to go searching for the chest, and you get like $1 million or 1 million credits for it. And basically there's 10 riddles on the island as you play through the game. So it's really cool. It's a good piece of DLC. I'm actually really excited to see where the Forza Horizon 5 DLC goes. But then on that token, I am close. So Forza Horizon 4 has 3,610 achievements because they added a stupid Hot Wheels achievement when they added the Hot Wheels pack. But I'm at like 2,400 of those achievements so far.
Wow.
And I'm going to get all of them. That's my goal.
And for reference, is Forza Horizon 5 only 1,000 gamer score?
Yep.
Wow.
So
what's the
it doesn't
roadmap?
have DLC yet.
Got it. What's the roadmap for DLC for 5?
They have not said. That's a bit of a contentious point in the community at the moment. I'm on the Reddit because I might be addicted to Forza Horizon. But I'm on the Reddit a lot. And you either get people who really love the game, and let's be honest, 20 million players that they've had with it now. The game's a smash success. It's brought in players who've never played a racing game or committed any time to racing games to it. But you have a lot of the people who started with the original series who are very upset with the game. It's that not enough content. It's not for them. They cater to people who don't care about racing, that sort of thing. So, they may be alienating some people from their ranks, but they've gained way more in the process. But I'm hearing rumors for March for DLC. I don't know if it's a full DLC pack. There's 2 expansions coming we can expect, probably like the other 2. And I don't know if the March one's going to be a full expansion or just maybe some new stuff put into it.
I need to play 5.
It's really good. Like super good.
Don't get banned.
Yeah.
We're not getting into that story again.
Yeah, go back and rewatch or re-listen to Press YYZ episode, what was it, 96? 95? One of the last ones of last year.
The thumbnail is a Forza thumbnail, so.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, you been up to anything lately, AJ?
Yeah, so last week I mentioned that I had just recently moved to the city. So I'm still
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I haven't seen you talk to you since then. Congrats!
Yay! Thanks. So I we're still getting settled and everything. We recently bought and built some IKEA shelves and had to drill into the cement wall between units to fasten them to the wall to make sure that they don't fall over. So that's been fun. But yeah, so I'm in a condo, and the condo has a pool and everything. That was fun. Valentine's Day happened, so Rachel and I got to celebrate our first actual Valentine's living together, which was nice. Yeah. But yeah, and I made a filet mignon, and she took care of the veggies and potatoes beside it, and then we went swimming afterwards. So that was fun.
Amazing news.
But yeah, we're still getting settled here. It's still a bit of a disaster in terms of a bunch of junk in here. But once we just finished building the shelves and fastening them to the wall, so now it's like figuring out the things we want to display and store on those shelves out there, and then we can then I can kind of focus a little bit more in like this room, and it won't be such a mess. So, but yeah, other than that, not too much. I haven't had a chance to play too many games. I did make sure I turned on my Switch and I pre-ordered that Mario Kart expansion that's coming in March, I guess.
That's right.
I pre-ordered that.
Do you pre-order it if you have the stupid expansion pass? Because I have that.
No, so if you have the expansion pass, it's included.
So
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the Canadian price on that?
34, I think
34?
it comes to. I think it comes to around there, 34.
For 48 courses, it's worth it. It's a little lame that's a slow drip, and it's going to take him like 2 years to get all those courses out.
It's a slow drip, and it should have been happening since 2017.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have more courses. It'll give me a reason to come back, and my family loves Mario Kart nights. Like my 3 boys and my wife play it. I don't play it anymore because I'm too good.
You're not allowed to play it anymore, is what you mean.
I would just always win, and my wife's like, why don't you let them win? I'm like, because they won't learn anything if I let them win.
Yeah.
How old are your boys again?
11, 9, and about to be 7.
I thought you were about to say, yeah, they're 4, 2, and 1, and I crushed them at Mario Kart every time.
Well, I did. That's why I'm not allowed to play anymore. They were those ages.
I was just going to say...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say when we did our 12-hour live stream back in November, and we played Mario Kart for a little bit, I had Rachel over, and she was on the split screen with me, and so she got really mad at me because I didn't let her win there. And so, I kind of understand where you're coming from in that regard.
You shouldn't let people win.
We went go-kart once, and I let her lead 5 or 6 laps of the 10 that we were doing around this go-kart track, and then in the last one, I just gunned it right around her. I was like, "Nah, come on, don't be scared, gun it."
When I took the kids go-karting once, and my wife came with me, and so I was in one go-kart with my kid Parker, and she was in a go-kart with Connor, and it was funny because I lapped her. And she wasn't trying to race quickly. She was trying to stay on the track and everything. And I'm like, no, let's floor this thing.
Yeah. Go-karts are great.
I don't want to bring the conversation down, but have either of you been at all abreast about some of the conversations that have been happening around the kind of graphical fidelity of the upcoming DLC for Mario Kart 8? Because when we last did this podcast, we were literally hot off the heels of the Nintendo Direct. We were all super abuzz about how cool it was that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was getting new DLC. And in the weeks since, there have been a lot of people being like, oh, I don't love the way the DLC looks. This doesn't look as pristine as some of the actual tracks that were originally made for the game. My opinion on it is that I don't particularly mind that much. I don't care that these tracks are more akin to remasters than they are utter kind of reinventions of prior Mario Kart tracks. Do kind of feel like it would have been nice if we had maybe received these a little bit earlier on. But yeah, I don't know. Where do you guys stand?
I think Yeah, I mean they don't look great necessarily. Like they could have done a little bit of work, up-res them and the textures and stuff. Added whatever the Switch equivalent of ray tracing would be. But I think the more interesting thing is the fact that the Mario Kart phone game is included in these.
Sure.
Which means technically they are considering that to be Mario Kart 9.
Right.
So the next actual Mario Kart we get won't be Mario Kart 9 like everybody's saying. It'll be 10.
Well, we don't know. Jacob, what are your thoughts on the DLC and how it looks?
I kind of agree with y'all that like this seems like it's 3 years later than it probably should have been, given that it's a Wii U remake that ended up on Switch that came out many years ago. I obviously the highest selling title on Switch, and that's why they're doing it. I'm excited, but again, I have the Nintendo Switch Online, right? So it's just something that I'm sure I'll turn on one time to be like, "Hey, Mario Kart," and then be done with it forever. Would they consider the arcade games canon though? Probably not. So I don't know if they'd consider tour canon.
Well, the fact that they are putting
Super Circuit is that canon?
The fact that they are putting tour maps in these packs, right? Because it's Mario Kart World Tour. The fact that they are putting those in, that has to mean that they hold it to a higher regard than even that arcade one. I would think. What
do we have? We have Mario Kart on SNES, Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Super Circuit on GBA. We have Mario
Super Circuit counts.
Double Dash. We have Mario Kart Wii.
And then DS.
DS.
Then there was the 3DS, which was 7.
And then 8.
Yeah. Then 8.
I guess they don't count. So maybe the next one is 10. Or they go away from numbers.
Don't forget
on the Switch, it's 8-2.
Don't forget about Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which was a game that was made by the the dodgeball game devs.
I don't think they count that though.
Is that
that one's not counted.
Yeah, the one with the toy where you race it around the real.
Yeah, like the
AR because you don't. There is no tracks. You make your own tracks.
Exactly.
Mario
I should get that.
Double Dash 2. That's what I want.
Yeah, Triple Dash. Let's go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do I want? Give me Nintendo All-Star Kart.
Yeah. I do
Smash
think,
Kart.
To just sort of wrap up the kind of graphics discussion, I do think that a degree of people's frustration stems from the fact that these DLC courses are most likely probably pushing off Mario Kart 10/X an extra little bit beyond whenever it would have released. And so I think that part of people's frustration at these DLC comes from a place of like, oh man, it kind of sucks that these DLC, which don't look the best that they possibly could, are coming in place of us getting Mario Kart 10 sooner. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't feel like it's something really kind of worth crying all that much about. All right.
I agree.
On my end, I've not really been doing a whole lot over the course of the past week. I did finally get around to platinuming Knack 2, which thankfully took so much less time than getting the original platinum for Knack 1. Getting the platinum for Knack 1 required me to like play through that game like 4 times. No joke.
At least it's a great game.
Debatable. The Knack 2 platinum, like I'm just gonna come out and say it. The process of getting the platinum for Knack 2 was probably more enjoyable than actually playing the bulk of Knack 2 for the first time. The kind of post game of Knack allows you to kind of play through all the levels using all of the abilities you've unlocked and continue to kind of like upgrade and obtain any other abilities that you hadn't yet obtained. And like overall, it was just really kind of smooth and seamless to kind of jump in and out of levels, keep track of what you do and don't have. It was a good platinum on what was otherwise kind of a very meh game. I did also get around to finish watching The Book of Boba Fett. We've not talked as much about TV series over the course of the past couple of weeks since the start of 2022 on this podcast. I do want to say, really good final episode. I had a lot of fun with episode 7 of the series. Series as a whole, kind of all over the place, to be totally honest. Have you guys been keeping up with it?
I haven't watched one episode.
No. I don't know why. Well, I had a lot going on. That's why I haven't. But I haven't even been drawn, like, felt the urge or felt like I was missing out for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a Star Wars human, so this conversation is gonna go. I haven't even seen all of the Star Wars movies, so yeah. Ask me if I've seen Star Wars Episode 6 because
have you seen Star Wars Episode 6?
I have not. No, I have not.
Have you seen Star
Wait,
Wars?
Episode 6, to be clear, is the
Return
of the Jedi. You haven't seen Return of the Jedi?
I have not.
Have you seen Ewoks Battle for Endor?
I have not. This is what I've seen. I've seen the first ones I saw. I saw them in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I stopped after 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't recommend it.
Continue. You should continue. You don't recommend stopping.
I don't recommend starting at 1. I recommend probably watching the original trilogy first, and then going back to the prequels.
There's also the machete order you could do. Have you heard of that? If you wanted to start again. So the machete order is like a way that kind of like starts you on a good note and it kind of ends you on a good note, right? Now I did a modified version of the machete order with my girlfriend when I was showing Star Wars to her, where we did episode 4 and episode 5, because that ends with the "No, I am your father" moment. And then it's like, yes, she knew that through osmosis, but she was asking questions like, well, wait, how did that happen? What? How is that possible?
Yep.
Right? Much like how Luke was, no, that's not possible.
Yep.
Then you go to 1, 2, 3, and you watch those and you kind of like learn like exactly how that was possible. Right? Get those ones out of the way, because a lot of people like them now, retroactively, but at the time they didn't when they first came out. But then you can end with the original 6 with Return of the Jedi. Then you can continue forward with in like release order and kind of like continue the story. But if you think about then adding in things like Rogue One, love it or hate it, it's a really good new old Star Wars, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I don't know. It's not something I'm immediately drawn to. So maybe, because I'll obviously have to rewatch 4 and 5 because I couldn't tell you a thing about those movies.
Absolutely.
So maybe I try this machete order. Order.
Machete.
So yeah, jumping back over to Book of Boba Fett real quick, my like kind of TLDR review of that series is I think everything good and bad about something like the Clone Wars, which Dave Filoni and co kind of worked on well before this, where there's some great kind of characterization, a lot of really good world building, a lot of great characters, both major and minor. Boba Fett himself, while not exactly the character that you knew from the original trilogy, is great in the series. But much like the Clone Wars TV show, the series jumps around a whole lot and spends, in some cases, entire episodes completely away from the kind of main action of the series. And if you're totally down with that, if you're like, all right, I'm tuning into the series just to see, what is going on in the lives of all these disparate, lightly connected Star Wars characters, you'll probably like the series. But if that's not your cup of tea, this series might not be for you. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's jump into our topic of the show for this week. So a couple weeks ago, Jacob, you reached out to us and you said, you know what if you guys did one of those lists on your podcast where you basically are kind of given a list of games, each with different monetary values, and you have to choose a certain amount of those games that will not exceed your budget. So you'll be given like, hey, here are the a grouping of like the top Wii games, and you have a few games from the Wii that are worth $5, a few games that are worth $4, etc., and you have to choose a certain amount of Wii games that do not exceed $15. You recommended that we do that for the GameCube, and we kind of talked about it amongst ourselves, and we're like, we like the GameCube, we like its library, but what if we expanded it a little bit more to also include the original Xbox and PlayStation 2's libraries, because then that would basically make up an entire home console generation.
Love it.
So I went ahead and I created a tier maker list that basically includes a selection of games from all three consoles, all at different kind of monetary values. If you're currently watching the podcast on Twitch or on YouTube right now, you can see them plain as day. If not, I will go starting from the bottom towards the top. In composing this list, I tried my best to kind of get an even enough selection of GameCube, PS2, and original Xbox games. I didn't want to feel like I was particularly, favorable towards one console over the other. So starting at the bottom, at the $1 tier, we have Ratchet and Clank, Up Your Arsenal, Final Fantasy X, Animal Crossing for the GameCube, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Jet Set Radio Future, and the Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. At the $2 tier, we have Beyond Good and Evil, Devil May Cry 3, Pikmin 2, Mario Kart Double Dash, Ninja Gaiden Black, which is the kind of enhanced version of the game that was simply titled Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox, and finally Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. At the $3 tier, we have Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, Silent Hill 2, Super Mario Sunshine, Soul Calibur 2, Fable, the original, and finally Psychonauts. At the $4 tier, we have Okami, we have God of War 2, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, Resident Evil 4, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And finally, at the $5 tier, we have Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, Shadow of the Colossus, Metroid Prime 1, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Halo 2, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, the game plan for this evening is over the course of the next hour or so, we're going to be whittling down this list until we have a combined total of $20 or under worth in games. So our budget cap is $20. And before we do that, though, I do want to know, is everybody here okay with this list? In composing this list, I kind of tried to consider, one, how popular the game in question was at the time of its release, 2, how popular and important it is to the kind of console on which it was released and just sort of gaming culture as a whole, and 3, how popular it still is to this very day, how high in regard do people still hold it. And so, for example, on one end of the spectrum, you have a game like Halo 2, where I personally have expressed my qualms with Halo 2 on this podcast, but obviously I have to, put my own ego aside and acknowledge how important that game is to the original Xbox. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have something like Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, where Thousand Year Door was well liked and was well reviewed at the time of its release, but it's really only in the modern era that that game has become as revered as it is. So much so that I felt like number 4 was probably around the best spot for that game. Are there any qualms, concerns, questions about the rankings for the games that I provided?
I think we go with these games. I think these will do.
I think it's great. I was looking at a list just now, and I'm like, is Fable's there. Mario Kart Double Dash is there. This list looks great.
All right, perfect. Well, let's jump right in. So at the moment, we are $70 over budget. So, does anybody want to take a stab of where we should start? Are there any games that stick out to you that are must-haves that we need to keep? Are there any games here that you think we can pick off right off the bat?
Can we get rid of Super Mario Sunshine? That game's a dumpster trash.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh no!
Whoa, why?
Well, I think it will eventually leave, but I don't think it goes yet. I think there is something valuable about Sunshine, the successor to Mario 64, like in the life of the GameCube, a Mario game on the GameCube, like.
But here's the deal: we've got a $20 budget. Are we spending $3 of our dollars on Mario Sunshine? I'm
absolutely not.
That's what maybe. Nah.
I'm a pretty big defender of Mario Sunshine, and even I would say that I think that there are other games that we could budget for on this list.
Okay. Okay.
All right,
fair enough.
We're taking Mario Sunshine right off the bat.
Sure.
That's a hard cut first. I love it.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And with that, we're now $67 over budget.
Can I just suggest a cut first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. I think that's a cool game. I don't think it's essential when we think of this generation of video games.
Don't disagree. I will say, though, this game is only a single dollar. And, part of me can't help but fear that eventually we will get to the point at the end where, we're at an odd number like $18 or $19 and we just need a couple more games to kind of pad it out. And, at that kind of a point, something like the Chronicles of Riddick might actually really be useful.
Then we can bring it back from the dismiss pile.
Yeah, I guess I was acting like we couldn't do that, but that's totally fair.
Or we could take the perspective of we need to cut from the top because realistically, we're probably only going to have at most 3 games from the top 2 rows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So should we come up with our essential collection at the top? Which that's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. Yeah.
No,
it's
not as tough.
I think it's a little easier to start by cutting the easy ones out. And the one I was going to suggest would have been Riddick, because the one thing it had going for it, in my opinion, like, was it a good game? I don't know. Like, people look at it fondly, probably because of the official Xbox magazine demo disc that had the demo of it on it, and they were like, whoa, everything's so shiny, because they did really good lighting tech.
Yeah.
So...
And it was this really notable example of like, oh man, this is a movie tie-in game for a movie that wasn't even, that popular to begin with, that inexplicably is also really good. It definitely had that going for it too. But I don't mind kind of taking it off, at least for now, just so that we can lighten up our load a little bit.
Mm-hmm. All right, who's next with a suggestion?
I got one. I don't think we need to worry about Pikmin 2. I think that's an easy cut.
I agree.
I'm with you.
I like Pikmin, the concept, but I don't think it's intrinsic to the GameCube, let alone that whole generation.
I really love Pikmin 2, but I mean, majority rules in this case, so we're going to have to take him out. All right, we are at $64 over budget.
Well, Cozy, it's your turn now.
Is it my turn now? Did you go, Nathan? Do you have any thoughts? Or
my suggestion was Mario Sunshine right off the bat.
Oh, that's right. Part of me, I'm like kind of sort of tempted to target Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, but the problem is that, like, 3D platformers were a pretty defining part of the generation as a whole, and also the kind of PlayStation 2 generation. We tend to forget about it, but like Sony was really kind of trying to chase the ghost of Crash Bandicoot that it recently divorced with during that era. And it would feel a little bit unfair to kind of take it off, because if I do so, then I feel like that's no longer any representation for Ratchet and Clank. That takes away representation for Sly Cooper and Jak and Daxter all at once. But I want to hear if you guys have any
none of those games are there. Fly's not here. Jak's not here. So is Ratchet going to bear the torch of all of the PlayStation's platformers here?
I'm going to be honest.
Concerned about
Ratchet for $1 is a steal. I actually would have put Up Your Arsenal higher. That's a good Ratchet game, and I think at $1, we keep it on the list because that's a great game.
Okay.
I would take Ratchet over any of the other $1 games on this list.
Maybe Final Fantasy I would keep. Final Fantasy X is like a 100+ hour game, and I put hundreds of hours into it.
Yeah, but then you got to play a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, get them!
Well, no, they were great. They have not been great in recent years, and I'm as much as I'm excited about 16, I'm worried it's not going to be for me either. They're going too much into action RPG instead of turn-based combat. But I'd say keep Ratchet. I don't know. I think for $1, it's a steal.
See, this is why I wanted to consult with you guys, because, yeah, I've not played Ratchet and Clank up your arsenal, and I didn't want to, do something rash that you guys would have, utterly revolted over.
If it was Deadlocked, I'd say you could drop Deadlocked. That's the fourth one they did in the PS2 that was more like an arena shooter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't have story. It was 90% shooting and 10% platforming. This was still when they did like 50% platforming, 50% shooting. It was really good.
Well, if I am to take off a game during my turn here, I suppose I might as well target Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Eternal Darkness, obviously, a kind of cult classic on the GameCube, a game that a lot of people have a lot of fondness over. I don't know ultimately if this game defines the console. Silicon Knights?
Yeah, Silicon Knights.
Yes, got it. But yeah, I don't know if we need it on the list that we're crafting, at least for now.
Cut it.
All
right. Eternal Darkness is off the list for now.
All right. I guess it's back to me.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to come with our first $5 cut. Because we got to cut some $5 games here. And because it's not my favorite in the series, it's going to go. Goodbye, San Andreas. Vice City is the superior game.
Yeah, Vice City is the more important game.
Yeah,
I would say.
Hold on. Let's call a quick timeout here. In assembling this list, one of the rules that I set out for myself is that I didn't want to use more than one game per franchise or series. So, for example, I only used Metal Gear Solid 3, even though some would contend that both 2 and 3 are worthy of being on a list like this. Same idea with San Andreas. I used San Andreas in place of Vice City just because Andreas came out a little bit later. It's a little bit bigger. But I do know that people do really enjoy Vice City. If this were to be Vice City, if we were to just pretend in our mind's eye that this says Grand Theft Auto Vice City, would you still want to keep it on?
Yes.
It would be a harder cut.
It would be a harder cut if it was Vice City.
We are the masters of this list. If you want us to pretend for the rest of this episode this is Vice City, I have no
we got to cut something. We got to cut something, and it's there.
All right. Does anybody disagree with Nathan? I think I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted personally.
It's either Grand Theft out of the $5 one. It's either Grand Theft Auto or it's Shadow of the Colossus right now.
Ooh, I was going to say Metal Gear 3. Shadow is kind of important to me. I was going to say that should stay of all those games.
But I mean, it was important to the PS2 at the time, and it's got its remake now, and it's. But is it as important to that as Metal Gear was to it, or even Metroid Prime was to?
I'd say more important.
Isn't San Andreas the best-selling game on the PlayStation 2?
Could be.
Yeah, it's like 30.
It seems like
it was cross-platform. I think eventually Vice City came to that as well, but
it was on Xbox. You're right.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm thinking let me take the other perspective. If I'm thinking of the maybe 2 games in the $5 tier that I want, San Andreas isn't on the list.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think if I'm ranking them, it's probably at the bottom. And I know that it's culturally significant, and a lot of people love it, but I never loved. This might be contentious to say, but I don't really like the Grand Theft Auto series.
All right, AJ.
I didn't like them till 4. 4 is where it got me.
You can tip the vote here, AJ. Do you think that San Andreas deserves off the list?
And what's the other option?
It stays
just need to hear it.
It stays on for the time being.
Just that. We're not like comparing it to something else.
Okay, here's let me give you my next one. So this would have been what I would have said next time. Metroid Prime needs to go.
Hard disagree.
I think there are 4 games that are more important on the list before Metroid Prime.
I think out of the 2 Nintendo games, Smash Brothers is more important.
I agree. It's a game that was still played in the tournament scene for... it's still being played in the tournament scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's... Some would argue, like, playing it... Like, sure, maybe it's a little bit shallow as far as, like, what comes in the package. But I think it's a perfect game. It's a perfect game. It's a very good game. And it came out at the launch of the GameCube as well, which is even more stunning.
Yeah. Well, by a month, I think it was off.
Yes, you're right.
My argument in favor of Metroid Prime is I would argue that Metroid Prime, also another game that was very influential, not in the way of it being this sort of competitive game that continues to be played at tournaments, but influential on many other developers that would come after it. So much so that you even have modern games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which are very kind of slavish to its design, and also Metroid Prime 1, a game that, like, design-wise, still holds up quite well, which is not necessarily something that you can say about every single game on this list. You know what, Nathan? The more I think about it, I'm probably going to piss some people off. I'm fine knocking Grand Theft Auto San Andreas off this list. I have realized in talking about Metroid Prime that there are other games that I hold much more dearly than that game, and I'm fine taking it off. If you're fine taking it off.
We're good.
Right. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas goes off the list, which means that we are now $58 over budget.
Metroid Prime, yes or no?
I vote
Is
no.
it staying on?
Hold on. You got me confused there. You're trying to mind trick me.
Is it staying on for now, and then we move on to the next person with another cut?
I vote that it stays on.
Yeah, it should stay on for now.
I've never played the game.
It should. It's pretty good.
Okay, let's move on to the next one and see if we can get some cuts out of here.
All right. By the way, I'm having a fight on Twitter with Court. Do you guys think G1 Transformers is better or Beast Wars is better?
Beast Wars.
Oh, do you mean
I said Beast Wars too. Beasties in Canada, but Beast Wars is what it's known by.
Canadian podcast. Thank you.
If you want to tweet at Court, he's very mad at me.
I have one that I can go with.
Go for it.
Fable. I put Fable on this list in large part because I know that it was a game that was, very important to the original Xbox's ecosystem. But even when I was, doing my research for this list, like something that I saw come up quite often in lists of like the top 10, top 25 original Xbox games list was like, yeah, Fable 1 was great, but it didn't fully kind of live up to the potential of what it promised. And Fable 2 was really where the series hit its peak. My only thing is, like, while I have no qualms taking Fable off this list, I can't help but feel a little bit guilty about knocking Fable 1 off and keeping something like Paper Mario on, which, again, is an example of a game that in modern days is very revered, but at the time was not really viewed as sort of this cultural touchstone in the way that Fable was. I don't know. Where do you guys feel?
Can I give you my chaotic internal thought about something I was thinking related to Fable?
Sure.
I could lose the whole $3 here and be fine.
I have a lot of thoughts on each game in the $3 tier that we'll get to as we get to them, but what you're saying is Fable, you have no qualms knocking it off as well.
No qualms. Cut it.
Nathan, AJ?
Yeah, cut Fable. The first one was like good and of its time, but it's like, and like the second one was pretty good at its time as well, but like then they kind of like shat all over it with the third one, and it's a whole thing.
There was a Connect one that really brought
Yeah.
the series back.
Oh yeah.
So
Not on rails. It's
as
not
somebody
on
who hasn't
rails.
played Fable and is excited to play the next Fable by Playground Games, the makers of Forza Horizon 5, for no reason specifically, because maybe I'm not addicted to Forza Horizon. Maybe. I've never played this, but I always heard that Molyneux never kind of lived up to that. Like, he kind of lied to people about what you could do in that game, and it never lived up to the potential. And the sequels got closer, but I don't think the first Fable is where it's at.
I need to play those games. All three of them are on Game Pass, I believe.
They are, yes.
So-
The anniversary collections of the first two, I think.
Yep, you're right.
Yep. Or editions, or not collection, but anniversary versions.
Mhm.
Yep. I should play them as well.
All right, we are currently at $55 over budget.
I think we can probably get rid of Ninja Gaiden Black.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
No argument. Okay, perfect.
I feel bad
That one's
for,
very easy.
for
That was
Ninja
easy.
Gaiden Black.
Nailed it.
You know, there are a lot of games here that are relevant today from the perspective that, you know, there are certain games in the modern era that we can kind of draw parallels with to them. I was going to make the argument that, you know, Ninja Gaiden Black does kind of prelude games like, you know, the Soulsborne games, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and the like, in terms of their emphasis on really kind of hard, kind of get good difficulty. But I didn't feel like it was ultimately strong enough in my head when it came time to say it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. We are currently at $53 over budget.
Nathan?
Yes. I'm going to make a plea to keep a game.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm going to change things up instead of cutting things down. As much as I've never played Animal Crossing, the original Animal Crossing, I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into
it's
current Animal
complicated
Crossing.
because remember, this game originally came out on the N64 in Japan.
Yes. But I was going to say we should keep Animal Crossing on the list because it's a game you can literally play forever, but also it features many NES games on it. It was like a virtual console before virtual console.
Well, I'll put it at the top of the $1 pile for now. I don't feel strongly about it either way, but I will do that to signify that I've heard your plea.
Yeah, it has Balloon Flight, Baseball, Cuckoo Land, Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong Jr. Math, Donkey Kong Jr. 3.
Math. Wow.
Excite Bike, Golf.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Pinball,
Nothing
Punch
gets me
Out,
excited like Excite Bike.
Soccer, Tennis. Excite Bike's great. Wario's Woods.
The best.
These are all classic.
Here's my cut.
Uh-oh.
Okami.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just expensive. When I think about like what's going to be our top 3 at the top of this price chart, I just don't think Okami's a cool game. I just don't think it stays with the classics that are up here.
It's very cool, and we deserve another one. But it's also one of it's kind of hard to keep it on the budget.
If you so you know, in researching the games for this list, you know, of course I typed into my Google search machine best X games, like best PS2 games, best GameCube games. When you do best PS2 games, at least this was on my search browser, literally the first one in like the row of games that appears at the top of your search results was Okami. Like, this game continues to have a very fervent fan base, but honestly, I'm fine knocking it off. I feel like if we were, stick with me on this, if we were doing a list where we were budgeting just the best Wii games, I actually would argue to keep it on there, because I think this game is actually a really good Wii game, even more so than it was a really good PS2 game. But I know some people might take umbrage with that. All right, well, Okami goes off the list. We are now $49 over budget.
Cozy, you haven't given us one in a little while.
I have not. What do I want to knock off? I mean, I might as well. Yeah, it feels a little bit unfair because it's kind of an easy pick, but Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. I understand that this game, was very beloved at its time for both its single player and multiplayer offerings, but I feel like there are more interesting first person and third person shooters on this list to choose from. Does anybody want to make a counter argument?
No,
I think the multiplayer was really cool. The Spies versus Mercs gameplay that was introduced in Pandora tomorrow. That would be on the edge to me of like what I'd want to see in the collection. I'm fine with letting it go.
All right, going once, going twice. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is off the list.
It was off. It was removal from my list.
All right. We are currently at $47 over budget.
I think I need to make an argument for something to stay.
Oh.
Out of the $3 tier, I think Soul Calibur needs to stay. Because it's specifically Soul Calibur 2, right?
Yep.
Think about it. Think about it. It's a really good fighting game, and it's a really good entry-level fighting game. You get all the weapons and stuff, and you customize your character that way. On the original Xbox, it had a unique character of Spawn. On the PS2, it had Heihachi. Yeah, and on the GameCube, it had Link. That was the crossover of the generation. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Link was in a fighting game.
All three consoles got this game, and it was immensely popular. This was Soul Calibur at the height of its popularity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was downward hill after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, you're right. It's definitely a good example of a game that is very kind of representative of the generation. That kind of permeated all three consoles in a really kind of significant way. Albeit, I would argue it definitely permeated the GameCube more than perhaps the other two because of Link.
No, I would disagree with that. I think the PS2 it did really well on because keep in mind, Soul Calibur, the original one, was a Dreamcast. That's where it performed best on. And it performed best on the PlayStation 2. And a lot of those Dreamcast people moved to the PlayStation 2. And actually, in my list of best-selling games here for the PS2, where does Soul Calibur show up?
I would argue that the GameCube one was more popular just solely based on Link. Because
I would almost say it had more cultural cachet, probably. But I think just from the install base, like if Nathan said, "Hey, the PS2 game sold 20 to 30% more," I wouldn't be surprised. Just because there's so many more PlayStation 2s out there.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well,
I'm a liar.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
It only looks like there's a million sold. 1 point something million copies sold. It's like the 131st best game. Now
on PlayStation 2?
On PlayStation 2. Now, keep in mind, the library is quite a bit deeper. Yep. It's the 33rd best game on this GameCube list, although there's only 35 games listed for GameCube. It does say, though, that it's 1.09 million, so it did sell better on PlayStation. Honestly, I thought it was sold much higher. That's only like 2 million copies between the two, and I can't imagine if selling well on the Xbox at the time.
Ozzy, is it your turn to make a cut? So I think Soul Calibur 2 stays on for now.
I did Chaos Theory before Nathan. Before AJ.
You're right.
What about you?
Yeah.
Oof. I want to make a hard cut.
Ooh.
Okay, let's do a hard cut.
Paper Mario 1000 Year Door.
Ooh, that one hurts.
Ooh.
And here's my pitch. I've not played it. I played the original and I played Super Paper Mario. I have 2 copies of 1000 Year Door. I will play it someday. It seems charming, endearing, cool mechanics, fun to play.
You missed the best one. You played.
I hear that
Not
that's
too
the
as
best
good as-
one in the series. I do.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I think of the games that are probably going to stay on this list. In my mind, it's some combination at the top, and I'm sorry if I'm leading the witness here, but it's probably RE4 probably needs to be on this list. Coder probably needs to be on this list, and either Melee or Halo 2 in my mind. So where does that leave like Paper Mario?
That's true.
And you could make an argument. Hey, Shadow, maybe. MGS3, maybe. Wind Waker, you're crazy, but sure. But I
The
think there's
best
a few
Zelda?
weak
Yeah, I
links up
should say.
here. Paper Mario 1000 Year Doors, I think out of the 10 games in the top 2 rows, I think is the weakest of the games in the top 10 games. Because we're going to get to a point where we have 3 or 4 games at the top, and I don't think Paper Mario is in that list.
I said this at the front of our discussion. The thing about Paper Mario and the 1000 Year Door, though, is that, like, of any game on this list, it is arguably the one that is aged better than any of them in terms of how it still plays in the year 2022.
Plays, sure. Story in Coder stands up. Probably stands up. It's probably why they're remaking it. And that's a whole
lot of
different
people-
discussion that I brought up.
A lot of people will contend that the story in Paper Mario 1000 Year Door is also really good, but
Yeah, I'm okay with cutting Paper Mario. It's a hard cut, but we have to make hard cuts on this list.
AJ, have any thoughts?
I think you can cut Paper Mario.
All right. Vote
Dang.
passes. Paper Mario
Sorry,
and the 1000
Cozy.
Year Door is cut. Yeah, it's all right. I enjoy Paper Mario and the 1000 Year Door. It's not even a favorite of mine. I was just trying to make the case of it, again, being this game that kind of holds up very well, but it's fine. All right, we are $43 over budget.
I'm going to slash another $4 game. Resident Evil 4.
Oof. But think about that cool chainsaw controller.
No.
Just
I
no.
never liked Resident Evil 4. I've never gelled with the Resident Evil games, and I've tried it. I didn't love the tank controls when I first got my PS1 on Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2, and I was hoping Resident Evil 4 was going to be the one, especially with the everything that they talked about it. But the controls just never got to me. Like, having to stop to shoot was just a hassle. Not being able to run and shoot. I found it cumbersome and clumsy, and I've never been a big fan of that. And honestly, I'd rather see Wind Waker, God of War, or KOTOR go further than Resident Evil 4.
Now, worth pointing out, Resident Evil 4, a multi-console game, much like Soul Calibur. It's one of those games where, when I think about it as being this game that kind of crossed consoles and kind of really is more representative of the generation as a whole than something like Wind Waker even.
Didn't it originally...
It was a GameCube exclusive when it launched, and he said that he would cut
Yes.
off his head if it came to other consoles.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
backtracked on that.
do we have to really factor in that much, his opinions that much? Like, I respect him, obviously, as a designer, but
Yeah.
It was on GameCube, then it came to PS2, then it came to Wii, and then there was nothing, and then it came to modern consoles in the 360, PlayStation 3 era.
Also, I'd make the argument that you can play that on any console at any point right now, and it doesn't necessarily need to be on this generation to play it.
Yeah.
Well, AJ,
Hi.
does Resident Evil 4 stay?
I think at this point, it doesn't.
On Air with Jura says RE4 started the over-the-shoulder camera. It reinvented Resident Evil and horror games. Look, if I'm the only person, then I will defer. I say no, Is everyone else yes? If so, it's gone.
I mean, we could always skip it for now and try and cut something else.
I'm a democratic fella. If it's 3 against 1, then we cut.
It depends where Cozy's at.
Can I make a suggestion? What if we reframe this discussion talking about horror games to be between Resident Evil 4 and Silent Hill 2? Silent Hill 2 directly below it at the $3 tier. And, while Silent Hill 2 hasn't necessarily aged super well from a gameplay perspective, story-wise, people still really revere this game. And, when people talk about the golden age of Silent Hill 2, they're generally Silent Hill as a franchise, they're referring to Silent Hill 2. Mm-hmm. It's this game that still, to this very day, gets people excited at the prospect of Konami reviving the series and or Kojima getting another hand at it.
I only played Shattered Dimension on Wii, which is a remake or a reimagining of the first game, and that was a pretty badass game. If I'm not mistaken, Sam Barlow was involved in that one,
right?
And it was
also
PS2 and Wii was pretty good.
Who also worked on Telling Lies, which is our YYZ review game.
Is Silent Hill for $3 a better buy than Resident Evil 4 for $4? If you're comparing genres.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we could do here is we could say which one would you keep, and then if it's unanimous, then we cut one.
I would
Maybe
say
not the right way to go about it.
As much as I respect Silent Hill 2, I would say keep Resident Evil 4.
Same.
All right, well, we're tied. We'll sit on Resident Evil 4 for now.
All right. Silent Hill, off you go.
I think I've got an easy one that we can cut.
Oh, what is it?
Jet Set Radio Future.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's just purely nostalgia goggles at this point.
I tried playing the remake of Jet Set Radio, the Dreamcast game, and as much as I love that game back on Dreamcast, the remaster did not play well. And I don't think it's aged super well. So I'm fine with that.
And not that it's exactly the same game, but if we are keeping Ratchet and Clank, the one that we talked about earlier, I don't know that we need to have Jet Set Radio as well.
Yeah. Honestly, the 3 that we've got in the $1 tier, I'm fine with those staying, considering it's 3 of the $20. It's a lot of value there.
Mm-hmm. We are currently $39 over budget, by the way.
Okay. So we need to slash $20 more. And let's be honest, most of it has to come up here at the $5 and the $4 games.
We need to slash $39 more.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said we're at 39. My apologies. Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, we got a lot more splashing to do. Can we take Devil May Cry? Is that 3 off?
That's 2 off. I'm good with that.
Yeah, Devil May Cry. I don't think it holds up with our limited budget.
Yep. It seems like a quick, easy cut.
I don't have any strong feelings about it either way, so off you go. Devil May Cry is no longer on the list.
There's no Kingdom Hearts on the list.
Beyond Good and Evil.
I just want to say very quickly, I did consider putting Kingdom Hearts 2 at the $1 tier. That's another example of a game, much like Super Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, where people have come to revere it in the modern age. It's looked back on as one of the better games from that generation. At the time, was not super beloved. Ultimately, though, it came down between that game and Final Fantasy X, and it's I feel like I want to go with Final Fantasy X because that was a game that, at least at its time, was also really revered in a way that Kingdom Hearts 2 wasn't.
So I'm a Beyond Good and Evil stan, but I'll listen to our argument for removing.
I just think that it doesn't maybe hold up as well in 2022. And again, I don't think that's necessarily the reason why you cut it off the best games of the, generation list. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it was as transcendent as some of the other titles here. And I don't think it holds up as well as most of the titles here we have left.
I want to take a moment and acknowledge our position in society as men, white men, and I know some girls in high school who weren't big into video games were actually kind of got into them because of Beyond Good and Evil, right? So that's a perspective we maybe should consider, even though like it's kind of hard for us to have that perspective. It was definitely having a female protagonist at the front of it was definitely influential for a lot of people who are not like us in that way.
I think it's a good point.
Yeah, I have no qualms taking Beyond Good and Evil off the list. I will say, I do think, and this is all very kind of speculative. This is all very kind of alternate reality-ish, but I do think that if we had gotten a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil that was not even necessarily all that much better, but at least comparable to the original game in terms of quality, I don't know that we would be talking about the original Beyond Good and Evil with as much reverence as we do. I think the fact that that was the only Beyond Good and Evil game kind of cemented it as a sort of perennial game that people look back on super fondly.
Yeah.
But again, this is all speculative.
Remember the sequel they announced for it?
Right, which is now in development hell.
Yeah, it was announced in 2017. I was just looking at it. Or E3 2016.
I forget when it was.
What is Michel Ancel doing these days?
He's
not working for Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he working on NFTs? What is he doing?
I think I think he went to work at like an animal preserve. That's not a joke. That's legit.
Yeah, no, I believe that is true. He had some issues too. He was one of the people that Ubisoft had some of the controversy with. In July 2021, Ubisoft stated in a financial report that development was progressing well, but did not answer a question about its release date for the sequel for Beyond Good and Evil 2. So that still may happen, although it does not look anything like the original Beyond Good and Evil. So,
all right, Nathan, have any regrets about me taking it off, or
take it off?
All right,
makes me sad. It's a good game. If you haven't played Beyond Good and Evil, I think it still holds up. It's very much a Zelda-like, and you get to use a camera and take pictures of things, which is very cool.
Let's cut some top stuff. This list is super top heavy.
It's too top heavy.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Man, these are going to be hard.
The thing about Knights of the Old Republic is, as revered as it is, I would argue that the Mass Effect games are way more revered, and the Mass Effect games not that different from Knights of the Old Republic mechanically, gameplay wise.
Knights of the Old Republic it's been a long time, but it plays more like a traditional CRPG like Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Am I right if I say that?
Yeah,
it's very different than Mass Effect.
It is.
Maybe when I said mechanically, let's scratch that part off. But certainly there are a lot of parallels between the two of, journeying throughout the galaxy, visiting different races and alien cultures, having a kind of morality system and a kind of plot that you can pick and choose things on so that you can sculpt it to your own liking.
I think the argument to get rid of it, though, and maybe if it is on there, is that we are getting a remake.
It's true.
And it's available on modern consoles. The Switch. It's on the Switch.
Can I make a suggestion for a different way that we look at the top two rows?
Yep.
Sure.
What are the games that, realistically, with the budget we have, again, I'm a finance guy right now.
Yeah.
We could probably only afford 3 at most in the top rows, right?
I agree with that.
So I'd love to know what everyone's top 3 are. Because if there's there's games on there where it's on no one's top 3, then we can probably just cut them.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can go first because I suggested it.
Yeah, go first. Yep.
RE4, Coder, Melee. It's so tough. There's probably 2 games that I regret on there, but that's my list there.
Okay, mine is Wind Waker, Shadows of the Colossus, and God of War 2.
Okay.
Mine. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Mine would be Metal Gear Solid 3, Metroid Prime, God of War 2.
All the games are accounted for.
Are they?
There's one that's not right now.
And it's about to be said. Go ahead, AJ. Say Halo 2.
I'm going to say Halo 2. We're only looking at the top 2 rows, right?
Yeah, top 2 rows.
Halo 2, Smash Brothers, and Wind Waker.
Okay, so here's what did happen. We got 2 votes on God of War 2. We got 2 votes on Wind Waker. We got 2 votes on Smash.
Yeah.
I'll move Smash up in the pile to kind of underscore that fact.
So, okay, we need to make some decisions here. What are we cutting? Jacob's right. We got to hit the top.
I still think Knights of the Old Republic should probably go.
I can see the argument for it.
I can see the
Was I the
argument
only
too.
one that said Coder? Because if I was, then I can let it go.
Yeah, you were the only Kodor.
I can let Coder go.
All right.
Yeah, the
Kodor
only ones that
is
got
off the
multiples were
list.
Melee, God of War 2, and Wind Waker. Those were the only 2.
Even still, I think that just from a personal list perspective, we're not 100% going by that. We're kind of going by relevance and I was the one who said Halo 2, but Halo 2 is so influential with Xbox Live and the multiplayer and it's very important.
Was I again the only person that said RE4?
Yep.
I can,
but we wanted to keep that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
we wanted to keep it earlier, but maybe now is the time.
Do we want to take a very quick break from the top 2 rows?
Okay. Do you got a quick cut?
I was going to make one suggestion before doing that. I was fine transferring my vote from RE4 to Halo 2 if it cuts RE4. I'm okay with that.
That moves Halo 2 to the top of the 5 tier.
All right.
With Smash. I'm fine with that.
If that's where the vote comes down, then I suppose that Resident Evil 4 is off the list.
Wild.
Sorry.
What's our dollar total?
We are $27 over budget. I just want to say sorry to On Air Witcher. We appreciate you tuning in to watch, but alas, Resident Evil 4 was not able to make the cut.
Oh no! Keep in mind, this is all our personal list. This does not reflect anything. Everybody has their own different favorites, and
if you disagree, you're wrong.
No, that's not what I was saying.
Mitch is going to listen and scream at you guys next week for some reason, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk.
Go ahead, Cozy.
I wanted to just take a brief detour to the $3 tier. Does anybody have a compelling argument to keep either Psychonauts or Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time on the list?
Nathan, you're currently, I think, the most familiar with Psychonauts. Unless you've played it, Jacob. I'm not sure.
I played 1 and 2, and I would probably count Psychonauts 1 among my top 15 of all time. I'm okay with cutting it here.
Yeah, I played 1 recently. Psychonauts 2 I played all the way through and 100%ed. I'm okay with 1 going. I love Double Fine. I love Tim Schafer. I think 2's better.
All right.
2's a modern game. I just think 1, Double Fine, this was their magnum opus back in the day. Microsoft almost bankrupted the company because they let this game go to Majesco publishing-wise. I think there's a cool story here. I think it's a good game. It's a good story. I can let it go.
Yep. I don't disagree.
I feel bad for it because it was one of those games that was well-liked at the time, and I feel like people have only kind of come to appreciate it even more with age as the themes, and subject matter that it explores has only become more and more relevant, but yeah, we can take it off. Any strong thoughts on Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time?
So I really like that game. In a lot of ways, it brought back like 3D action adventure games. The rewind mechanics were really cool and revolutionary at the time because no game was playing around with like rewinding your actions, and you could literally try everything and just rewind, and nothing else had done anything like that before.
It's also,
there's a reason they're remaking it, although we'll see how
hopefully
that turns
hopefully
out.
that'll turn out well. I have a lot of respect for this game. I feel like it's really hard to keep this game on this list so long as we also have God of War 2, The Wind Waker, and potentially Metroid Prime.
I think it's a better game than Metroid Prime, but
Oof.
we
Fighting
can cut
words.
we can cut Sands of Time. Again, I really don't think Soul Calibur 2 belongs here in our budget, but I can fight that a little bit later.
Would you put Prince of Persia over Soul Calibur 2?
Yeah, I would. But I would also cut them both over many of the things we have in the top 2 rows. This is the fun budgetary decision we have to make now.
AJ, do you have any thoughts on Prince of Persia?
None, and I think that means it should go.
All right.
I'm
Prince
okay
of
with it
Persia
going.
is out of here.
You know, the argument I would make for keeping Soul Calibur 2 is that it's infinitely playable. That's the one nice thing about fighting games. It's not like a story which you finish and then it's done.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's always pick up and play, like mash the buttons or don't. Like, yeah, there's something to that.
That $5 row, we need to trim something.
We are currently
2 games from that top row need to go.
We are currently $21 over budget, so we're getting there, but it's getting tough.
What if I gave you an extra $5 from my wallet, Cozy?
Let's talk about a game we've not really talked about all that much.
Just right past it.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Yeah.
I'm not a Metal Gear Solid guy. I have no attachment. I'm easy for it coming off, honestly. I think if you're going to talk about the big Metal Gears, it would have been 1 and 2. 3 is one of those ones which I think is critically liked, but I don't think people liked it as much.
It still remains sort of like when people can make their list of like the top Metal Gear Solid games, Metal Gear Solid 3 is really up there.
It's true.
I always think of the end, the boss battle, where
that's good.
Very cool how you could just turn off your console, come back, and he might. Spoilers for MGS3. He might die.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Wasn't there, you could adjust the clock for one of them and they'll just die?
Yeah.
That's precisely the boss I'm talking about.
That's the end.
I love Metal Gear Solid, the series. I think it's bananas. It's still playable. Like I was watching Lucy James stream MGS2 last night, the conclusion, and I'm like, wow, this game is unique and batshit. But I think that compared to some of the other games here, it's something we could cut. Who picked it? Was it you, Cozy?
Cozy picked them all.
I did. Now here's the thing. This is one of those things where I didn't absolutely love Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater when I played it, but I still respected it enough that I felt it should stay. I mean, AJ, do you have any hard thoughts?
I mean, I like Metal Gear. But like as much as people love the story and Kojima and stuff like that, those games are not fun to control, and they didn't quite get good. Some could argue 4, but I would argue 5 is where it actually. So, like, for this generation, like, I don't know if it's as big as or important as some of the others out there.
It's a tough baby to kill, but if we're all for it, I'm willing to take it off. All right, going once.
Little Sam Bridges, baby.
Going twice. Metal Gear Solid 3 is off. I feel like that was the first really big kill of this list for crafting, but it had to happen.
Yep.
All right, we are now officially $16 over budget, so we're coming very close.
Man, I'm okay. I don't want to lose God of War 2. I think it's the crowning achievement of the PlayStation 2, and it's really like the last major game that came out for probably that generation. Because the PS3 launched when God of War 2 dropped.
I mean, if you really kind of want to stretch things out, remember that Persona 4 also released on the PlayStation 2 around the same time.
Yes.
Although I didn't include that game on this list because I feel like that's more of like a Vita / PlayStation 3 / PlayStation 4 era game, the way that people kind of remember it. But
yeah,
by the time people play Persona,
yeah.
God of War 2 or Shadow of the Colossus?
You think that only
the stairs go?
Yeah, that's fair. I say Shadow stays over God of War.
I think so too.
Yeah, it pains
We're
me to
essentially
say
going to have like one genre. Like, really, this list is going to be probably 5 to 7 games, right?
Yeah, that's likely.
So I'm just thinking, like, do we need both? PlayStation 2 games, Sony first party, focused on story, great worlds, technical achievements in the day. I think we have one.
Yeah, and they're not perfectly alike, but I feel like there are enough parallels there. I'm a huge fan of God of War 2, but I definitely, especially from like an artistic perspective, the way that Shadow of Colossus tells its story and the kind of melancholy that it holds, like God of War 2 definitely doesn't hold up in that regard. God of War 2, from a gameplay perspective, on the other hand, really does hold up, but I'm fine taking it off if we're all fine with doing so.
Yeah,
I think that's the right call. Yep.
All right. God of War 2 is off the list. We now are only $12 over budget.
We're close. We're cutting in there. It's got to be some of these $5 games.
Yeah, we have to cut 2 $5 games.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Can
right?
Can I be really petty and take a quick detour to ask if it's necessary that we keep Final Fantasy X?
Yes, for $1, yes.
Compared with the other dollars, I
would drop Animal Crossing before Final Fantasy.
Animal Crossing, yeah, I would too.
Oh, really? I mean, I don't have any attachment to Animal Crossing myself. Jacob, do you have any thoughts on Animal Crossing?
Yeah, I would take Animal Crossing over Final Fantasy X every day. I would take Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal over Final Fantasy X every day, but that's because I'm not a JRPG guy.
I'm a big JRPG guy.
You are, yeah. But think about the list comp, right? Like, that could be the only JRPG on the list. We have 2 fighting games. We have a racing game.
Fair. Honestly, I'm right in the same boat with you guys, actually. Like, I would rather take Final Fantasy X over Animal Crossing, even though I'm not particularly partial towards X. Are we fine taking Animal Crossing off?
No, Animal Crossing over Final Fantasy every day is what I said.
Oh.
Yeah. No, Jacob's on the opposite side, but I think...
But it is majority rule.
One, then I'm out.
Yep.
All right. We are now $11
remember Mr. Rossetti?
Over budget.
Remember Blitzball?
I sure do remember Mr. Rossetti from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where he would interrupt everyone on screen.
Why are we bringing the worst part of Final Fantasy X up? The Blitzball. Everything else is perfect.
I mean, listen.
Do you remember in that audio drama where Titus died because of an explosive Blitzball?
No.
What?
I've not heard this.
We're $11 over budget now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We got to drop something else.
Okay.
Right. Okay, go for it, Jay.
In the $5 tier, I think the 2 games that I think should stay in the $5 are Smash and Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Because of their their overall cultural influence and what they brought not only to the generation but to the generations after it.
I made the argument before for Shadows staying because like it's been remade twice at this point. It's been remade for the PS3 and it's been remade for the PS4.
Yeah.
Because of how good that game is. But on that same token, it is playable elsewhere. And I've used that for an argument for, and probably the better version if you were going to play is the PS4 version at this point.
Yep.
So.
Now, AJ, how do you feel about that argument being applied to Halo 2? Because I think a lot of Halo fans would contend that the best way to play Halo 2 is via the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, so you kind of have to do two.
You can't even play Halo 2. They just shut the servers down, did they not?
That was 3.
Wind Waker's on Wii U. Like, I think you can make that argument about a lot of these games.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
And so, like, if like we're not limiting like to the. We're not limiting ourselves into like what counts as like a good impactful moment or whether or not you like if it's valid. I just personally think Halo 2 being the cultural touchstone and what created a lot of the overall standards for online play, at the very least on console. Has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with just like its importance and its impact that it had. So it's like.
Yep.
Can I tell you about how I think about this exercise? I think
Sure.
about the dorm bro who's like 19 years old and he loves sports and he drinks a lot of beers with his boys. And he doesn't play a lot of video games. He doesn't spend a lot on video games because he doesn't have a lot of money to spend on them. And he's got maybe 5 or 6 games next to his nightstand. What are the 6 games going to be on his nightstand? That's the way I think about this exercise. And I don't think Metroid Prime is on that nightstand.
I agree.
Cozy's
that's
like, no!
That's what we need.
Can I deflect once again and go down another petty side tangent?
Yep.
We have not
we
talked...
voted though, right?
Oh, I do want to, before we get to that, I do want to say, we have not talked at all about Mario Kart Double Dash, which is the last game at the $2 tier.
I was fine leaving it because it's one of those infinitely replayable games.
I understand that, but do we also feel like we're just sort of giving it to this game because it's, a game in a genre that isn't really represented elsewhere on this list? Like, I feel like other than that, Mario Kart Double Dash doesn't really have anything else to stand on.
We're $11 over, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the combo that's going to take $11 off this list?
2
Are we trying to
plus
get
9.
precisely to like?
Yeah,
to
we need
20?
to get to $20.
Okay. Shadow of the Colossus, Metroid Prime, Final Fantasy.
Ooh.
I love that so much.
And right there.
I would keep Final Fantasy X on this list and knock off Mario Kart.
The 3 that I said cut 11 and we're done.
I would be willing to cut Double Dash, but then we're going to add something back at the $1 tier. Maybe
That's
Animal
fine.
Crossing.
Which I would be okay with, but we would do that at the end after we.
I'd argue Mario Kart is more important than Animal Crossing. Like,
I agree with you.
I think with the way it is.
Wait. Okay.
Instead of Final Fantasy, would you take Ratchet?
Can we cut Soul Calibur?
Yes.
No,
I was okay with it staying before.
It's infinitely playable, like you said. I think your argument still stands.
But I think Final Fantasy X and Ratchet and Clank are worth saving over Soul Calibur.
I feel like between Soul Calibur and Mario Kart Double Dash, Soul Calibur just holds a little bit more weight again because it was this like console spanning game that meant something a little bit different to each of the three consoles. Mario Kart Double Dash meant something to the people on GameCube, and I'm not saying that something was nothing, but yeah, it's not.
It was a good cooperative racing game. Like the first time really that's ever been done. Like you think of all the assist modes where like you can like hand the second switch remote or whatever to your kid or whatever, and they can like gather stars in Galaxy or something. It's a cooperative experience in Double Dash where you could just control both and you just swap the person that you want. You're kind of like developing like a good. Really, you're building your cart in a way because like you need to like know what characters weigh what, and then you also have to know what kind of special item they have. But then the cooperative side of it, like you could play one cart with you and your friend, and you have to coordinate like the timed. I think it was the Z button press where you can swap around and stuff. And I think that's super rad.
Cozy, I love you. What's your game here? Because I think that we've talked about Metroid Prime about 3 times, and each time you're like, "But how about this other video game?"
I think if we took a democratic vote right now of Metroid Prime, does it go? Just put your hand up.
Damn it. I mean, I want to move this. To be fair, I do want to move this podcast along. We can't be here forever. So
yeah,
not with that attitude.
Majority votes. Before we whittle down the final,
secretly got our 12-hour stream this one. So
before we whittle down the final $6 that we need to take off this list, do we have any strong feelings against the Wind Waker sticking on?
I'm a big Wind Waker stan. It's the best Zelda.
Yep, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
Do we, in the same way that we talked about Shadow of the Colossus making God of War 2 redundant, do we feel like Shadow of the Colossus potentially also makes Wind Waker redundant?
I'd say you get rid of Shadow of Colossus before Wind Waker.
I agree.
But I could make an argument. Are you trying to angle that we get rid of Double Dash and Zelda and we're done? Is that what you're getting at, Cozy?
No, I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm trying to make sure that we like touch on each game in a meaningful way. And we had not really talked about the Wind Waker all that meaningfully, so I just wanted to touch on it.
Did we talk that much about Ratchet?
Yeah, very early on.
Very early on.
For $1, I said it was worth keeping. It was one of the first games we talked about. I'm okay with Shadows going. I'm a big Shadows fan, but
at this point, you look at what's left to get us under budget. I am okay with Shadow going.
I started my podcast because of Shadow of the Colossus. It was our first episode. It was a 2-parter. I love that game, and I'm okay if we cut it.
Oh wow! I was just gonna say, so you're willing to keep it if you end your podcast completely and it's done.
No, the thing on this out of this list, I don't think Soul Calibur deserves to be on this list. I truly don't.
So look, I'm a big Soul Calibur fan. It's just what's the final math here? If we eliminate Soul Calibur, that means we need another $3 game.
Yep.
Right. The math doesn't add up anymore.
Shadow as well, and we add $2 back.
Yeah. Oh, what was in the initial $2 tour?
Hold on, let's backtrack real quick. So, are all three of you okay with removing Shadow of the Colossus?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. I would keep Shadow of the Colossus on this list, but like,
okay,
I don't have the same reverence. I don't have the same reverence that I have towards Metroid Prime 1. So I have like no qualms taking it off.
Let's drop Soul Calibur and bring Beyond Good and Evil back in the $2 tier.
So hold on. You're saying Shadow of the Colossus is off?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So
that puts us $1 away.
Yes.
Drop Final Fantasy. Done. Boom.
No. Soul Calibur 3 goes. We bring Beyond Good and Evil back. and that makes the math work.
I'm a huge Ratchet stan.
Yeah.
I'm also fine if you cut Ratchet.
I
think Melee being on this list, yes. Halo 2, yes. Wind Waker, yes. Anything else below that line, I could hear an argument for.
Mm-hmm.
Soul Calibur. Not only was it multi-platform, but your platform of choice got something unique and special. It wasn't just the same clone of the game. It got something unique and special, and that in itself, in the gaming sphere, not like the overall world or whatever, like, but in the gaming sphere, it meant something important back in the day. Like, I remember it clearly. My dad lives in California, and so I went to the local Hollywood Video, and there was a Game Crazy attached to it. And I remember somebody had imported the Japanese version of Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube, and they were just standing there playing it, going ham. Like, people imported games from Japan all the time to be able to play them early and get them early. But I never really... You'd see it casually around, like a lot of places, like, oh yeah, I imported this here and there, whatever. People went out of their way to import Soul Calibur because they knew before it even came out that it was going to be something special.
The top 3 games on this list, Melee, Halo 2, and the Wind Waker, are a lock. Do we want to state, of the bottom 4 games, which one we want to keep? Which 3 we want to keep? And then based on that, determine what goes.
That's not a bad way to do it.
Okay.
So whichever has the least votes goes.
Yes,
yep.
That's the idea. I vote to keep Soul Calibur, Ratchet and Clank, and Final Fantasy X.
Should we just say the one that, just for simplicity's sake, or do we want the votes of? Do we want the votes of everything? Do we want to do which one you don't want, or which 3 you want?
Yeah, I guess the one we don't want. I guess that's simpler, right? Yeah, right. So Mario Kart 8, I don't want.
Double Dash.
Right, Mario Kart Double Dash, correct.
Yeah.
No, I think AJ's saying that's his too.
Nope. Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I think, honestly, it's a coin toss between Ratchet and Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Overall, I think I'd get rid of Final Fantasy.
All right. Nathan?
Because it has Blitzball. Think about it, Nathan.
I hate Blitzball, but the rest
exactly. Think about it, but it's still tainted.
It's like 100 hours of
Blitzball. Blitzball.
Plus, it's got Bender in it.
And Blitzball.
All right, guys, we need to speed it along. Speed it along.
If I had to get rid of one, I'd probably pick Soul Calibur 3.
You're the fighting game guy.
Soul Calibur 2 at the $3
Oh,
tier.
2.
Yeah. All right, Jacob?
Soul Calibur 2, but like Final Fantasy 10, I'm also good with getting rid of. And that's just a genre thing for me.
I'll just go with whatever.
I know it's essential
at this point.
I know FF10 is essential.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, it's better than 7.
So hold on. Do we have 2 votes for Final Fantasy X? 2 confirmed votes or 2 iffy votes?
I don't know.
Why don't we cut Ratchet and call it a day?
Yeah, let's cut Ratchet. It's fine.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
I'll take it.
Like I said, I wanted to keep Ratchet and Clank up your arsenal on the list because I felt it important to kind of have a game that represents, that aspect of the PlayStation 2 era and, that era as a whole. But yeah, I don't have any qualms really keeping it on. I don't have any qualms taking it off is what I should have said. All right. And
are we still friends after that?
I mean, yes. I think we ended positively. Like, some concessions were made. I think overall, if we were to pick a winner, I think I'm the winner here. but
I think you are.
I think I am.
You are too.
I don't know how.
With that, we have arrived at the final list in front of us. At the $5 tier, we have both Super Smash Bros. Melee and Halo 2. The $4 tier, we have The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. At the $3 tier, we have Soul Calibur 2. At the $2 tier, we have Mario Kart Double Dash. And at the $1 tier, we have Final Fantasy X. Wow. I can't believe we did it. We actually did it.
I can't believe it's not butter.
It took us longer than I thought it would, but I should have thought it was going to take this long, honestly.
I feel we had a good conversation along the way.
Yeah. I think this was really interesting. This was a great game idea, Jacob. Really appreciate you.
Thank you
suggesting this.
Of course.
All right. Well, with that done and over with, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to Press YYZ. If you enjoyed this broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Twitter at Press YYZ and slide into our Discord at invite.gg/PressYYZ to keep the conversation going. Jacob, if people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they do so?
Yeah, the best place to find me is at Jacob McCourt on all major social media platforms, JACOBMCCOURT. I've been posting daily content on TikTok, so I super love the work I've been doing there. Like it's a super interesting and fun platform. So I would say if you want to find my work, Twitter and TikTok are probably the best places. And then I host 2 podcasts.
If they want to find you, I just want to say, if they want to find you on TikTok, is it also at Jacob McCourt?
Branding Baby, JACOBMCCOURT on all platforms.
Nice.
I host 2 podcasts, one called Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast, a seasonal show about video game movies and TV. We just wrapped up season 3 at the end of 2021. We're on hiatus because one of our co-hosts had a child, and we'll be back in 2022 with a whole season 4 of Madness.
Boo children.
Boo children. The other show is called Left Behind Game Club. It's a video game book club podcast where every other week we take a game and we dissect it in a way that is informative, funny, and mostly positive. This past week, we just played Life is Strange. We are going through that for the first time in a 5-episode series. So again, Cutscenes and Left Behind Game Club on all major podcasting platforms.
Cool. And with that, we want to thank you all for playing.